3 years with his childhood sweetheart, Sophia Evans, and the craziest thing Ethan Miller had ever done was happening right now. Pressed against the door of a private booth, a thin wall separating them from the thrum of the crowded lounge, he was about to give her his first time. His eyes were dark, his breath catching in a ragged groan as their own mingled. Sophia's kisses trailed lower, and in the dizzying haze of desire, his shirt was being tugged open. Ethan's hand shot out, flustered, closing over hers. Can we not? He whispered. A low chuckle, and her voice, soft and intoxicating, brushed against his ear. Baby, I want every inch of you to be mine. Heat flooded Ethan's ears. His hand slowly loosened, and the shirt slid completely off his shoulders. Broad shoulders, a lean waist, muscles defined yet lean, and a twisted, angry scar that snaked from his right shoulder diagonally across his chest. It was grotesque, horrifying. The next second, the woman who had always been so tender, so mature, recoiled. Before Ethan could react, she gagged and threw up, the acrid mess splattering onto his bare skin. The seductive atmosphere shattered. Ethan's head snapped up. The desire hadn't fully left Sophia's eyes, but the flicker of raw disgust that joined it stabbed him like a shard of ice. His face went white. Humiliated, he grabbed a handful of napkins, blindly wiping at himself, his trembling hands fumbling with the buttons of his pants, failing several times to fasten them. I think I had too much to drink. My stomach's upset, Sophia said quickly, regaining some composure. I'm sorry. Our first time should be better than this, not? Here. She took his shaking hand, her touch now gentle as she wiped at the mess on his chest, then carefully fastened his buttons for him. Then, she pressed soft, lingering kisses to his forehead. Don't be mad at me, okay? Her voice was sweet, laced with a familiar, captivating charm. Ethan gradually relaxed, managing a small nod. Sophia draped his jacket over his shoulders. I'll have my driver take you home. Get some rest. I'm just going to hang out with my girlfriends a bit longer. He nodded again. Okay, if you're feeling sick, don't drink anymore. She arched an eyebrow, a dazzling smile spreading across her face. Yes, sir. Ethan's cheeks burned. He couldn't even look at anyone as he stumbled out of the booth and made his way out of the lounge. But worry gnawed at him. Worried Sophia was still sick from the alcohol, he bought some electrolyte drinks from a nearby convenience store and hurried back. As he reached the door to their private area, ready to push it open, a burst of laughter, sharp and cruel, erupted from within. No way, Sophia. You actually puked on him. Ethan's face is a dead ringer for Nathan's. The guy was practically throwing himself at you. Couldn't you just go through with it? The words hit Ethan like a thunderclap. He froze, his mind reeling as if it, too, had been blown apart. I guess I drank too much, lost control. Who knew he'd look so disgusting with his clothes off? That voice, so familiar, was etched into his bones, now delivered words of such unfamiliar, venomous cruelty. Another wave of laughter. Ha, seriously. If it wasn't for getting Nathan to take a spot in that overseas dance program, Sophia wouldn't have had to arrange that car accident. The plan was just for a minor injury, but who knew the car would explode, left him covered in scars. Still, Sophia's taken care of him for this long, so it's not like he lost out completely. With Nathan out of the country these past 3 years, Sophia had to make do with Ethan's face to ease her longing. Good thing that's finally almost over. A chilling numbness spread through Ethan, a profound sense of vertigo. The car accident that had destroyed his dance career, Sophia had arranged it. All along, he'd just been a placeholder, a stand-in paving the way for his twin brother, Nathan. Sophia, Nathan's back tomorrow, right? How come you haven't dumped Ethan yet? Don't tell me you've actually developed feelings for him. Sophia scoffed. We wait until tomorrow. Otherwise, if Ethan freaks out, what if Nathan refuses to come back? But isn't this a bit too harsh on Ethan? What if he can't handle it? Someone else chimed in, a hint of hesitation in their voice. Sophia's reply was cool, deliberate. Not my problem. It felt like a bullet piercing his heart, a violent, sharp pain instantly radiating through his entire body. Ethan couldn't bear to hear any more. He turned and fled. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to get away from this place, away from Sophia, away from this grotesque, terrifying nightmare. He ran until his legs gave out, then stumbled to a crouch by the side of the road, tears finally breaking free, hot and uncontrolled. He and Sophia were childhood sweethearts. She was from one of Boston's old-money families, strikingly beautiful, exceptionally capable. Falling for her had been the most natural thing in the world. When he first fell for her, in the bloom of first love, Ethan had pursued Sophia for 4 long years, but she'd remained indifferent. Then, just as he was about to give up, she'd suddenly accepted his confession, telling him to meet her at an upscale lounge immediately. Ethan had been ecstatic. He never imagined that on his way there, he'd be caught in a car accident, his vehicle exploding on impact. He'd suffered extensive third-degree burns all over his body. It was a miracle he'd even survived. For 6 agonizing months, she had been by his side, helping him endure countless excruciating surgeries. He'd been a wreck, his confidence shattered, feeling utterly worthless, convinced he didn't deserve her. But she had stood before everyone and declared that Ethan Miller was her boyfriend, officially. He had always believed Sophia was his sole salvation during the darkest period of his life. But it turned out she was the very architect of his destruction. He didn't know how much time had passed. The tear tracks on his face dried, and a chilling clarity began to settle over Ethan. His ice-cold hand dialed a number. "Alex, it's me. Yeah, I'm in. We leave the country in a week. I know you're not thrilled about performing on stage again, but you could switch to choreography, work behind the scenes. This chance to join the dance company is once in a lifetime. Missing it would be too." Alex Peterson, on the other end of the line, stopped mid-sentence. "You're in. I've been trying to convince you for ages, and you wouldn't budge. What suddenly changed your mind? You're really going to leave Sophia?" Ethan's voice was strained. "We broke up, but you guys were so good together. How could?" Alex knew Ethan well enough not to press further. "Okay, I get it. I'll handle all the arrangements." He hung up. Ethan stood rooted to the spot, a hollow ache in his chest. For 25 years, Sophia had been like a part of him, seamlessly woven into the fabric of his life. Now, tearing her out felt like ripping away half of his own soul. But no matter how difficult, he wouldn't go back. Not this time. For the next 2 days, Sophia didn't come home to their shared apartment. For the first time ever, she didn't even text him where she was. Ethan, however, had a sickeningly clear idea of her whereabouts and didn't make a single call. Forcing himself to gather his composure, he went straight to the company where he worked and handed in his resignation. His manager looked surprised. "Does Ms. Evans know about this?" "Nothing concerning you can be processed without her approval." A strange, unsettling feeling crept over Ethan. It was only now, with dawning horror, that he realized. These past 3 years, it seemed he hadn't been able to leave Bridgewater for a second. Business trips were abruptly canceled. Applications for advanced training programs would suddenly stall, and whenever he planned a trip with Alex, an urgent work assignment would conveniently pop up. He finally understood. None of it was a coincidence. It was Sophia's way of keeping him under a kind of gilded house arrest. She kept him by her side, not just as Nathan's substitute, but also terrified that the truth about Nathan taking his place for that overseas program would be exposed. Ethan staggered, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. How could she be so cruel? Meeting a dead end at work, Ethan returned home and began to purge everything related to Sophia. Stacks of love letters he'd handwritten, matching couples' outfits, a shared relationship journal, countless photographs, and, of course, the happy moments he couldn't resist posting on Instagram. He threw every last item into the trash without a shred of mercy. That evening, he stood in the living room, surveying the now barren apartment. Strangely, a sense of liberating relief washed over him. Just then, the front door opened, and Sophia walked in. Her eyes swept across the room, her expression darkening, as if she were observing a petulant child deliberately causing a scene to gain attention. There wasn't a trace of the warmth he used to see in her eyes. "Nathan's back. I'm throwing him a welcome home party. If you don't go, he'll be upset." Her words echoed in Ethan's mind. Wait until tomorrow now had a concrete, chilling meaning. The time was up. Nathan was back. Sophia no longer bothered to hide her preference. He, the counterfeit, was now utterly worthless. "Don't be difficult. Let's go," Sophia said, turning to leave. Ethan numbly followed her to the car. He was painfully aware, in that moment, that the lamb she had kept for 3 years had never been granted the power to refuse. The welcome party was held at the Evans family estate, a lavish affair. When Ethan arrived, Nathan was surrounded, the star of the show, unwrapping a mountain of expensive gifts from Sophia with their mom, Mrs. Miller, by his side. "Ethan, you're here." "Sophia, you really went all out with these gifts for me. I can barely keep up with unwrapping them all." "Too much trouble, Nathan. Should I just toss them then?" "No way. I love every single one." "Thanks, Sophia," Nathan immediately protested. Ethan looked at the piles of gifts scattered on the floor, a sudden tightness constricting his chest. They had lived together for 3 years, yet Sophia always seemed to forget his favorite color. But even after 3 years apart, she knew Nathan's tastes perfectly, meticulously preparing hundreds of gifts he would love. So this was the difference between being loved and not. Crystal clear. "Ethan," Nathan said, grabbing his hand, "it's been so long. How about you dance for me? I want to see how good you are now. Who knows, maybe I can find an opportunity to recommend you to my teacher." "Your teacher?" A bitter taste filled Ethan's mouth. That glittering future should have been his. Seeing Ethan's lack of response, Nathan looked to Sophia for help. Sophia smiled indulgently at Nathan, but her words to Ethan were a clear warning. Nathan's willing to give you a chance to shine. You should appreciate it. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He was passively led to the center of the grand hall. Ethan, you can't dance with your jacket on. Take it off. Nathan reminded him with a smile. Don't be a buzzkill, Sophia said, not even bothering to lift her gaze from Nathan. Ethan's face was pale. With trembling hands, he removed his jacket. The burn scars, previously hidden by clothing, were now exposed. The next second, a collective gasp rippled through the room. Oh, that's so disgusting. I'm getting goosebumps. And he's supposed to dance? It's an assault on my eyes. If I were burned like that, I'd rather be dead. A tidal wave of malice washed over him. Ethan bit his lip so hard he tasted blood, his body trembling uncontrollably in front of everyone. Enough! Sophia's voice cut through the chatter, sharp and sudden. In an instant, the room fell silent. Ethan instinctively looked toward Sophia, a final, desperate flicker of hope instantly crushed. She didn't even glance at him. Instead, she gently covered Nathan's eyes. Don't look, sweetie. You're sensitive. It'll scare you. I didn't know about Ethan. Nathan whimpered, his voice thick with tears. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I really just wanted to help. Sophia turned her head, her gaze towards Ethan now devoid of any warmth. Ethan, put your jacket back on. Or are you determined to make Nathan feel guilty until you're satisfied? It was as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over his head. Even Ethan's breath felt cold. Look at that. Even when he did everything she said, if Nathan was unhappy, he was still the one at fault. Nathan, don't cry. We haven't finished opening your presents. Want me to help you with the rest? Sure, it's okay. You're breaking my heart when you cry like this. Sophia carefully wiped Nathan's tears. The surrounding guests were silent. Only her soft, cooing words to Nathan audible in the vast room. Ethan put his jacket back on, but under the derisive, cutting stares of the crowd, he felt like a clown stripped bare. He couldn't stand it a moment longer, but he didn't even dare to just walk away. Humiliated, he rushed into the nearest restroom. His legs felt like lead. He had to grip the edge of the sink just to stay upright. Tears streamed down his face, hot and unrestrained. Ethan, he looked up at the sound of his name. Seeing his mother, Mrs. Miller, he managed a twisted smile. Mom, those things I sent you. Are you getting good use out of them? Mrs. Miller flinched, avoiding his gaze. Ethan's heart plummeted. 3 years ago, when he was horrifically burned, his mother had claimed she was taking a frail Nathan abroad for medical treatment, leaving him alone in Bridgewater. Later, after he'd recovered somewhat, whenever he asked about Nathan's condition, she'd always fobbed him off with vague excuses. He could only send packages periodically, hoping they were managing okay overseas. Most of the items, he now realized, Sophia had helped him pick out and pay for. He thought Sophia was just being kind by association, showing love for him by helping his family. He never imagined she was just using his money to shower Nathan with gifts, passing them off as her own generosity. They had coordinated their deception so perfectly it made him sick. Ethan had so many questions he wanted to scream at her. Whose idea was it for Nathan to take his place? What role had his own mother played in the car accident that nearly killed him? But in the end, only one word escaped his lips. Why? You still have the nerve to ask why. Mrs. Miller suddenly seemed to find her footing, her eyes blazing with anger. If you hadn't stolen all the nourishment from Nathan in the womb, he wouldn't be so fragile. This is all your fault. You owe him this. A roar filled Ethan's ears, his throat tightening. He and Nathan were twins. He had always been healthy, while Nathan had spent his first 2 months in an incubator and was prone to fevers and colds. Growing up, his mother had always doted on Nathan. Ethan had never complained. Even he himself would often look out for and accommodate Nathan. He just never imagined his mother's favoritism ran so deep, so twisted, that she actually believed Nathan's poor health was his fault. Despair, cold and absolute, settled in his heart. Ethan said nothing more. He turned to leave, but Mrs. Miller grabbed his arm. Sophia and I discussed all this. Nathan doesn't know anything. Don't you dare say a word to him in front of him. Ethan stared blankly at his mother, still scheming for Nathan, even now. Numbly, he returned to the party. At that moment, Sophia was carefully steadying Nathan. You can't hold your liquor, yet you insisted on drinking. You'll feel awful later. Nathan had only stumbled slightly, but she let him lean heavily against her, allowing him to wrap his arms around her. Sophia, I like you so much, Nathan murmured, his voice slurred. Sophia's eyes softened, her entire being focused on Nathan, yet her affection was so restrained, her movements meticulously proper. She glanced sideways, her eyes inadvertently meeting Ethan's lost, vacant stare. Ethan's face was a mask of indifference, but she froze, her hand holding Nathan's unconsciously loosening. Nathan, however, suddenly dipped his head and, in a daze, pressed a kiss to the corner of her lips. Sophia. The next second, all her composure shattered. Sophia wrapped her arms around Nathan's neck and pulled him into a deep, bruising kiss. Ethan stood motionless, watching Sophia clutch Nathan tightly. She was trembling, out of control, as if trying to fuse him into her very bones, to transmit 3 years of suppressed longing in that one desperate embrace. Only when Nathan let out an unconscious whimper of pain did she seem to snap back to reality, releasing him and helping the now drowsy Nathan away. Their mother, Mrs. Miller, followed closely, her face etched with concern. A ripple of whispers went through the remaining guests, then escalated into a full-blown cacophony of chatter. Well, I wouldn't choose Ethan either. All those disgusting scars. I wouldn't touch him if he paid me. Ugly people just love to cause drama. How could Ethan ever be good enough for Sophia? Sophia putting up with him for 3 years was him getting the better end of the deal, if you ask me. Ethan's fingertips trembled, a chill seeping deep into his bones. How absurd. How laughable. Sophia was the one who had destroyed him, yet now he was the one being vilified as unworthy of her. Mr. Miller, you can leave now. Sophia's assistant materialized in front of him. Ms. Evans asked me to remind you. What shouldn't be said, best remain unsaid. Ethan glanced at him once, then turned and walked away. Back at his apartment, he stood under a scalding shower for half an hour before he felt any warmth return to his body. In the dead of night, he lay in bed, counting. Soon, only 5 days left. 5 more days, and he would be free. The next day, Nathan held his first solo dance showcase since returning to the country. It blew up on social media. The showcase was personally organized by Sophia, who was by his side the entire time. Behind-the-scenes clips of their interactions went viral, and Sophia, Evans, and Nathan Miller became a trending topic, hailed as a match made in heaven. But that evening, a different video suddenly exploded online, igniting a firestorm of public opinion. The video was a solo dance Ethan had filmed at home years ago. It was this very video, seen by chance by a renowned dance instructor, that had caught the instructor's eye due to Ethan's raw talent. The instructor, however, had mistaken Nathan for Ethan, and that was how Nathan had secured the spot in the prestigious overseas program. Ethan had just finished watching the video when Nathan called, asking to meet him at a coffee shop. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that my chance to study abroad came from taking yours, Nathan said, head bowed, his voice a low mumble. A lump formed in Ethan's throat, but before he could speak, Nathan let out a laugh. You didn't actually think I'd say that, did you? For a moment, Ethan's mind went blank. A bone-deep chill spread through him. His own brother, whom he had always cherished and protected, was not innocent at all. I heard you threw yourself at Sophia, and she ended up puking on you. Is that true? Though after seeing those scars on you yesterday, I have to admit, it's pretty damn revolting. No wonder she didn't want to sleep with you for the past 3 years. You looked so pathetically stupid yesterday when Sophia kissed me. It was hilarious. Ethan couldn't hold back any longer. He swung, his palm connecting with Nathan's cheek in a resounding slap. Ethan, I'm sorry, Nathan cried out, clutching his face. I never meant to compete with you for anything. Ethan followed Nathan's gaze and spun around. Sure enough, Sophia stood there. She strode forward quickly, her eyes flicking over Nathan's reddening cheek, then settling on Ethan with a look so venomous, so cold, it was terrifying. She genuinely looked like she wanted to kill him. Ethan froze, a chill snaking up his spine. Sophia. In an instant, Sophia's murderous aura vanished. She turned to Nathan, her voice soft and soothing. Your brother is just being stubborn. Once he thinks it through, he'll forgive you. Right now, we need to get you to a doctor to look at your face. Come on, don't make me worry, okay? With a mix of coaxing and gentle persuasion, Sophia accompanied Nathan to the hospital. Ethan collapsed onto a chair, his entire body cold. A moment later, he asked the coffee shop owner to pull up the security footage. He sent the clip to Sophia. The next second, his phone vibrated. It was a notification. Message delivery failed. Sophia had blocked him. Ethan stared blankly at the bright red exclamation mark. He thanked the owner and walked out. The night was heavy, oppressive. Not long after leaving the coffee shop, Ethan was struck from behind with a heavy object. He crumpled to the ground, consciousness instantly extinguished. When he came to, he was tied to a chair, unable to move. Before he was fully lucid, crack, a heavy rod slammed down hard on his right hand. Then again and again. Pain arched Ethan's back. He couldn't even scream. He bit down hard, the metallic taste of blood filling his mouth. Who was doing this to him? Why? The pain was so intense Ethan's consciousness began to fray. Then a bucket of cold water was thrown in his face, shocking him back to a brutal awareness. His skin was broken, flesh torn. Through the blood, he could vaguely see the glint of bone in his fingers. The agony of 10 fingers connected to the heart nearly made him pass out again. He didn't know how long the assault lasted before it finally ended. The men in front of him stepped aside, and someone else entered from outside. As Mr. Miller learned his lesson, Ethan looked up in disbelief. It was Sophia's assistant, which meant the one who had orchestrated all this could only be Sophia. If that wasn't enough, how about another 100 blows? The assistant sneered. We have plenty of time. Eventually, Mr. Miller will understand that some people are not to be touched. Ethan trembled involuntarily. Because he had slapped Nathan, Sophia had someone beat his hands 100 times with a rod. She was truly ruthless. In Sophia's eyes, there was no right or wrong. Or rather, all notions of right and wrong had to unconditionally yield to Nathan. I was wrong. The assistant, satisfied, dialed a number. A moment later, that achingly familiar voice came through the phone. Bring him over. He needs to apologize to Nathan. Ethan bit his lip so hard it bled. Soon, only 4 days left. Then he could leave this place. Leave Sophia for good. His injured hands were hastily bandaged. Ethan was taken to the Evans estate and dumped outside the front door. Through the door, he could hear Sophia coaxing Nathan. Your brother isn't angry with you. He came over specifically to apologize for losing his temper. Don't be upset. No one will blame you. Nathan's voice, innocent and pitiful. But I'm still scared. Ethan's never been that aggressive with me before. I don't dare. Then, when you're ready to see him, I'll let him in. Sophia, you're the best. Outside, Ethan felt lightheaded. A security guard watched him with cold, indifferent eyes. He couldn't enter until Sophia permitted it, nor could he leave. Suddenly, rain began to pour down in sheets. The rainwater quickly soaked through his bandages, and the wounds throbbed with renewed, excruciating pain. The doors and windows of the house were closed, but he could faintly hear Sophia's gentle voice. It's raining and getting cold. Put on a jacket, or what if you catch a cold? Ethan's eyes burned red. He had already decided to let go. Yet at this moment, his heart still ached with a terrible, sharp pain. The front door finally opened. Nathan has forgiven you, but he doesn't want to see you right now. You can go. Ethan glanced at the assistant, said nothing, and turned, stumbling away. He went to the nearest emergency room to have his wounds redressed. The skin around the injuries was white and puckered from the water, a shocking sight. Even the doctor was taken aback. Cleaning, stitching, bandaging. Throughout the entire process, Ethan remained numb. As the treatment was finishing, Mrs. Miller arrived. When she saw the blood-soaked bandages in the trash can, she stared for a long time. Does it hurt? Those 2 words pierced the dam of his suppressed emotions, and a wave of grief and injustice surged upwards. Ethan lowered his head, silent. Ethan, can Mommy ask you for a favor? Ethan's body stiffened. He looked into her eyes. Go on. After a few seconds of hesitation, Mrs. Miller finally spoke. Will you give Sophia to Nathan, please? Even though a dreadful premonition had already settled in his gut, hearing Mrs. Miller actually say the words felt like a sledgehammer blow to Ethan's chest. Ethan, in your current state, you're not good enough for Sophia. Besides, you can't force feelings. You can't guilt-trip her into staying with you for the rest of her life. Mrs. Miller's words flowed more easily now. Nathan is your brother. If he's happy, you'll be at peace too, won't you? Ethan felt as if he were sinking into quicksand, his whole being dragged relentlessly downward. It took a long while before he found his voice. She doesn't need me to give her to anyone. But if you don't willingly step aside, Nathan will feel indebted to you. He won't accept Sophia, Mrs. Miller said immediately. And what about me? Have you ever thought about what will happen to me? Mrs. Miller frowned, hesitating for a moment. If Nathan and Sophia get together, it wouldn't be appropriate for you two to see each other anymore. I'm planning to rent an apartment for you out of state. You shouldn't come back for a few years. Ethan laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that made his wounds throb. In 4 days, I'm leaving Bridgewater. A flicker of joy crossed Mrs. Miller's face. It's good that you can see things clearly. Ethan had indeed seen things clearly. People who weren't worth it. He didn't want any of them. That night, his wounds became infected, and Ethan developed a raging fever. In a haze between sleep and consciousness, he felt Sophia helping him up, taking him to the hospital. His eyelids felt weighed down by lead, impossible to open, yet he was acutely aware of the movements around him. Throughout the night, Sophia never left his side. She constantly sponged him down to lower his temperature, and when his fever refused to break, he heard her repeatedly questioning the doctors, her voice sharp with anxiety, agitated, losing control, as if she genuinely cared about him. It wasn't until the next morning that his fever finally subsided and he fully regained consciousness. He tried to move, but his hand was gently pressed down. Your four isn't finished. Don't move. Ethan looked at Sophia. After a sleepless night, the corners of her eyes were red, her face pale. She looked exhausted. They've retreated your wounds. As long as you take care of them properly from now on, you'll be fine. Do you want something to eat? I can have some soup sent over. He said nothing. He couldn't understand Sophia. She was the one who had harmed him like this. What was this meticulous care supposed to mean? Was it a pang of conscience? Pity? Your mother came to see me. Ethan's heart clenched. So, her visit last night, was it to make sure he wouldn't go back on his word? He didn't respond. Sophia didn't seem to care. You don't have to leave. The apartment you're living in now is yours. I'll have a monthly allowance transferred to your account. As long as you don't interfere with Nathan, I can support you for the rest of your life. Ethan's throat tightened. After destroying his future and trampling on his deepest feelings, Sophia now had the audacity to offer him charity, to support him for life. What did she take him for? In 3 days, it's Nathan's birthday. I plan to propose to him then. Nathan will only believe you genuinely wish us well if you're there. A roaring filled Ethan's ears. He couldn't utter a single word. After what felt like an eternity, he heard his own trembling voice. Get out. Sophia's eyes darkened slightly. A moment later, she turned and left. 3 days later, it was also his birthday. Ethan clenched his fists. Bright red blood flowed back up the foretube, staining the white plastic, dripping onto the bedsheets. He seemed oblivious to the pain, closing his eyes. Sweet memories from the past flickered through his mind. Her, sitting beside him watching the sunrise by the ocean, building a snowman with him during the first big snowstorm down south, taking care of him day and night when he had a fever. Moment after moment that had once warmed him, now twisted and distorted, completely unrecognizable. The emotional turmoil that had been boiling and churning in Ethan's chest for days finally subsided. To offer up his whole heart, to love Sophia with everything he had, that had taken him 25 years. Letting go, however, took only 4 days. Outside the hospital room door, Sophia paused, an unconscious urge making her look back, her breath catching in her throat. For years, Ethan had chased after her, his affection ardent and unashamed. Even after the accident, when self-loathing had consumed him, every time he was with her, the joy and excitement in his eyes were unmistakable. She had never seen Ethan like this, lying alone in the hospital bed, devoid of life, as if only an empty shell remained. Sophia's lips pressed into a tight line. She shouldn't care, yet a profound discomfort churned within her. The thought that had been battering her mind all night resurfaced. Ethan shouldn't be like this. An inexplicable panic seized her heart. Sophia found herself taking an involuntary step back towards his room. Her phone rang. It was Nathan. Sophia, when are you coming back? Her expression softened instantly. She turned and walked away. Just wait a little longer. I'll be right back to have lunch with you. After hanging up, just before leaving the hospital, a strange compulsion made her glance back one more time. She instructed her assistant, have someone take good care of Ethan. He is Nathan's brother. After all, nothing can happen to him. Ethan spent his last 3 days in Bridgewater in the hospital. During that time, neither Mrs. Miller nor Sophia visited, nor did they send a single message. They were busy preparing for Nathan's birthday party and Sophia's proposal. News of Nathan taking his place for the overseas program had been quashed by Sophia, who paid heavily to suppress it. The only thing dominating the trending topics now was the impending happy news of Sophia and Nathan. It seemed the whole world was blessing their union. The only thing that didn't matter was whether Ethan lived or died. Ethan checked himself out of the hospital and went back to the apartment one last time to get his luggage. Before leaving, he took one final look around, ensuring no trace of him remained in that place. He dragged his suitcase out, only to be stopped at the door by Sophia's assistant. Mr. Miller, this is a property transfer agreement. Sign it, and this apartment is yours. I don't want it. Ethan's expression was calm. I left the keys on the coffee table. You can give them to Sophia. Must Mr. Miller always go against Ms. Evans' wishes? Ethan flinched, a chill crawling up his spine. He tightened his grip on his suitcase. Of course, he had to leave, to completely sever ties with the people and events of Bridgewater. The assistant stepped aside. Mr. Miller, I'll be waiting here for your return. Cold sweat slicked Ethan's palms. He forced himself to remain composed, got into a taxi, and headed for the airport. His flight was in an hour. Once he left, it would all be over. Sophia couldn't do anything to him then. The journey was uneventful, yet Ethan's unease grew with every passing minute. The moment he dragged his suitcase into the airport terminal, a swarm of reporters, appearing from nowhere, rushed towards him. Ethan Miller is here. They brandished cameras and microphones like weapons, descending upon him like flies scenting carrion. In the chaos, a reporter yanked hard at his shirt, exposing his scars to the open air. That's him from the photos. So many scars. It's truly disgusting. Quick, get pictures. This is great material. Ethan Miller, were you attacked in retaliation for being promiscuous? Is that how you got like this? A chorus of disdain and revulsion, the incessant flashing of cameras. In that moment, Ethan felt as if he had been plunged into hell. Why aren't you saying anything? Do we hit the nail on the head? Look at these photos. How do you explain these? Photographs were thrust in Ethan's face, each one a dagger twisting in his heart. In one photo after another, Ethan was barely clothed, his eyes closed, his body arranged in a series of humiliating, almost submissive poses. A roaring filled his ears. He couldn't hear a thing. The clothes torn open in the photos, they were the ones he'd been wearing the day he was brutally beaten with that rod, his skin flayed open. Mr. Miller, I'll be waiting here for your return. So that's what Sophia's assistant had meant. Sophia had never, ever intended to let him go. The taste of blood filled Ethan's mouth. He stared blankly at the surrounding faces. To be so scarred and still stir up trouble, he's just rotten to the core. Take more pictures, help him get some publicity. Maybe he can attract some business for people with special tastes. He was shoved and pulled by the crowd. The scene before him blurred, a dizzying carousel of faces. He gradually stopped hearing their words, only the shrill, uncontrolled ringing in his own head. The unfamiliar faces grew more grotesque, like monsters revealing their true forms, brandishing claws and fangs, determined to drag him down to hell. He didn't know how long it took before the reporters, having gotten their fill of photos, finally let him go. His luggage lay scattered on the floor. His boarding time had long passed. Strange, assessing glances fell on Ethan. He felt a bone-deep chill, moving like a zombie, dazed, as he stumbled towards the exit. Buzz, buzz. His phone vibrated relentlessly with news alerts, all about him. The photos were pixelated, but his face was horrifyingly clear. The callous, humiliating headlines plunged him into an abyss. Why? Why were they doing this to him? He hadn't done anything wrong. He just wanted to leave this place. Was even that too much to ask? Tears splashed onto his phone screen. News alerts kept popping up. He'd close one with a trembling hand, only for another to appear. Suddenly, Ethan tapped on a notification. It wasn't a news article, but a message from Sophia's long-silent group chat with her girlfriends. WTF, this is character assassination. Isn't this too cruel to Ethan? Sophia, how is Ethan supposed to live this down? How is this any different from forcing him to kill himself? Quick, delete that. Ethan is in this group. Within seconds, all the messages were retracted, leaving only Sophia's reply in the chat window. I'm alive today because Nathan gave me a kidney. He's my life. I'd do anything for him. I won't let anyone threaten him. It wasn't deleted, as if it were left there specifically for Ethan to see. He subconsciously touched his right side, where the burn scars covered the old surgical incision. Nathan was her life. Then the kidney missing from his own body. Whose account should that be on? Boom! Ethan looked up dazed. Fireworks exploded across the sky, illuminating the entire city of Bridgewater. Nathan Miller, happy birthday. The words blazed for everyone to see. In the darkness below, gasps of envy and admiration occasionally broke the silence. His phone rang. It was Mrs. Miller. Don't come to the birthday party. If people find out Nathan has a brother like you, how can he face anyone? Ethan Miller, how could you do something so shameful, so disgraceful? You'd be better off dead. The sky, lit by the fireworks, was a stark pale white. Ethan managed a bitter, broken smile. A bitter, broken smile stretched across Ethan's lips. If this had happened to Nathan, Mrs. Miller probably wouldn't have condemned him without even asking a single question. But now none of it mattered. He had nothing left, and he wanted nothing. Fine, I'll grant your wish. The line on the other end went abruptly silent. Ethan hung up. He looked down at the dark, churning waters of the Blackwood River, a corner of his mouth twitching. He had been just one step away from leaving this place of heartbreak. But Sophia just wouldn't let him go. She wanted him trapped, to die in this gilded cage. He couldn't hold on any longer. Ethan Miller, happy birthday, he thought, a desolate laugh escaping him. The next second, with resolute despair, he leaped. Inside the Evans estate, Louis XIV roses flown in specially carpeted every surface, each bloom personally selected by Sophia. The music performed by the live band was also chosen by her, tailored to Nathan's preferences. The fireworks were spectacular, a continuous barrage lighting up the night sky. Society's elite mingled, a glittering assembly. For Nathan's birthday, Sophia had ensured every detail was executed to perfection. Yet, standing in the bustling, opulent ballroom, Sophia felt a persistent unease. The heart in her chest beat erratically, as if something profound, something vital, was spiraling completely out of control. Sophia unconsciously swiped open her phone. The group chat was still frozen on the message she'd sent. Ethan hadn't responded at all. She tapped on his profile picture. She had blocked Ethan, but some strange impulse had made her keep their chat history. She scrolled up. Last year, on this exact day. It's my birthday today, and you're on another business trip, not coming back? I'll try my best. She knew how hollow that "I'll try my best" had been. At that very moment, she'd been busy celebrating Nathan's birthday, an ocean away. She had gifted Nathan a top-of-the-line sports car, meticulously chosen. The next day, she tossed Ethan some casually wrapped accessories, which he had treasured like priceless artifacts. In their 3 years together, she had never once celebrated his birthday with him. Yet, no matter how disappointed he was, he had never blamed her. Not once. Your brother is being completely unreasonable. His phone is off. He's not answering. Mrs. Miller's voice broke through Sophia's thoughts. Sophia looked up to see Mrs. Miller placing a small, ornate charm around Nathan's neck. Don't take this off. Mom spent 3 days praying for this good luck charm for you. Does Ethan have one too? Nathan asked. Mrs. Miller answered without hesitation. He doesn't need one. He's much healthier than you. A sharp pang, like a needle, pierced the softest part of Sophia's heart, making her throat tighten. The lingering effects of that car accident 3 years ago meant Ethan was constantly on medication. Was his health really that good? A 7-tiered cake was wheeled out in front of Nathan. Dressed in a sharp tuxedo, he was the center of attention, surrounded by adoring guests. Sophia knew she should be by his side, but her feet felt rooted to the floor. Only one thought echoed in her mind. Today was also Ethan's birthday. She couldn't do this to him. Sophia dialed her assistant's number. Release the evidence proving those photos were doctored. Retract all news related to Ethan. Have legal send out cease and desist letters. In 10 minutes, I don't want to hear another negative word about him. Besides the apartment he's currently living in, transfer ownership of the 2 villas in North River to his name. Increase his monthly allowance by another $1 million. Also, find a chef who specializes in nutritious, restorative cuisine and arrange for them to work for him. She overturned all her previous plans, sending everyone scrambling. Finally, she added, "Let me know the moment Ethan comes back." When she hung up, Nathan had just made his wish and blown out the candles. Amidst the cheering and playful goading of the crowd, he looked at Sophia and announced his wish. "I hope, with the blessings of all my family and friends, to marry the person I love most and spend the rest of my life with her, growing old together." The crowd erupted in laughter. Nathan, blushing, lowered his head. "Sophia, it's your turn to make a move. Come on, we're all waiting for your birthday gift to him." Proposing at his birthday party. This was the plan Sophia had meticulously crafted, rehearsed countless times in her mind. The specially chosen ring was right there in her pocket. Now was the perfect moment. Isn't this what she had always wanted? To marry Nathan, to openly and legitimately take care of him for the rest of her life. So why wasn't she happy? Why did she feel nothing at all? Sophia remained silent. The surrounding chatter gradually died down, the atmosphere growing awkward, strange. Nathan looked up, trying to mask his unease. "Sophia, what birthday present did you get for me?" Sophia snapped back to the present. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice flat. "I forgot to prepare one." Her girlfriends exchanged bewildered glances. Nathan's fingernails dug into his palms, unnoticed. Sophia proposing was supposed to be a sure thing. "What do you want?" "I'll get it for you later," Sophia asked. Nathan shook his head. "Having you here with me, Sophia, that's the best birthday present I could ask for." For the latter half of the party, Sophia stayed by Nathan's side, attending to him diligently, though her eyes flickered to her phone constantly. 10 o'clock. Still no word that Ethan had returned. 11 o'clock. Her phone remained silent. An inexplicable anxiety gripped her, making it impossible to sit still. Sophia handed Nathan a plate with a slice of cake. "I have some things to take care of." Nathan nodded obediently. "Okay, Sophia, go do what you need to do." Sophia patted his head gently and turned to leave. Her girlfriends were aghast. Sophia is acting so weird. Wasn't she supposed to propose tonight? What on earth is she thinking? She's the one who destroyed Ethan, and now she's the one moving heaven and earth to clear his name. Could Sophia be regretting it? Does she have feelings for Ethan after all? The speaker's eyes met Nathan's, and she abruptly fell silent. Nathan smiled, a picture of harmless innocence, as he carried his dessert to the sofa. Only when he lowered his head did the smile vanish. Before this, he had never considered Ethan a threat. but the dessert Sophia had given him. Half of it was mango, Ethan's favorite, and Nathan, was allergic to mangoes. Before heading back to the apartment she'd once shared with Ethan, Sophia paid 10 times the original price to buy the last cake from a high-end bakery. She placed the cake on the coffee table and looked around. The apartment felt empty, sterile, like a showroom model. Not a single trace of Ethan remained. She'd known he'd cleared things out and hadn't cared before. But now, suddenly, the air felt thin, making it hard to breathe. She opened her phone and unblocked Ethan's number. "Where are you? I'll come pick you up." Her message disappeared into a void. No response. Sophia's throat tightened, the unease intensifying. As long as you don't affect Nathan, everything else is negotiable. Still, no reply. 11:30. Ethan hadn't come back. 12 o'clock. As the clock struck midnight, Sophia lit the candles on the cake, took a picture, and sent it to Ethan. "Ethan, happy birthday." Then 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock. The melted frosting dripped onto the coffee table, a sticky, chaotic mess. There was still no sign of Ethan at the door. Sophia hadn't slept all night. Her eyes were bloodshot. She wouldn't let him leave Bridgewater. He was smart. Coming back was his best option. Apart from sacrificing his dance career, she could give him the best of everything else. So why hadn't he returned? How dared he? The door opened. Seeing her assistant enter, the faint light in Sophia's eyes dimmed again. "Ms. Evans, all we can confirm is that Mr. Miller left the airport. His exact whereabouts are still unclear." The assistant hesitated for a moment. Does it really matter where Mr. Miller went? Why are you wasting your time looking for him? Sophia's heart clenched. She didn't know what she was thinking. Even if Ethan truly left, the impact on Nathan would be minimal. Why couldn't she have just spent a complete birthday with Nathan? Why did she have to find Ethan? The assistant received a call, his expression changing drastically. "Ms. Evans, Mr. Miller. He. At the hospital." The moment Sophia entered the room, Nathan's tears began to fall. His face, neck, and hand were covered in scrapes and bloody marks. He cried, his body trembling, but made no sound, which made him look exceptionally pitiful. "What happened?" Sophia asked. "It was Ethan." "Mrs. Miller's eyes blazed with fury. Sophia had no doubt that if Ethan were present, his mother would tear a piece of flesh from him. "He's an animal. He could even lay hands on his own brother. When he was just born, I should have smothered him." Sophia found the words grating and cut her off. What exactly happened? "He tricked Nathan into going to the outskirts of town, hired some thugs to beat and torture him. If the bodyguards you arranged hadn't noticed something was wrong and rushed over, Nathan might have had his arms and legs broken." Mrs. Miller lamented, tears streaming down her face. Sophia looked at Nathan. "Are you sure it was him?" She knew best how much Ethan adored this brother. How could he resort to such cruel methods? "Ethan, he told me to wait for him, that he'd be right back. But what I got was..." Nathan's face was pale, and he trembled with fear. "Sophia, why would Ethan do this to me? What did I do wrong?" A lump formed in Sophia's throat. He hadn't done anything wrong. But what about Ethan? His body scarred by burns, his future forcibly stalled, his reputation ruined. What had he done wrong? "Sophia, you have to catch that ungrateful wolf and make him pay," Mrs. Miller said vehemently. A sudden pain shot through Sophia's heart. "Auntie, you take care of Nathan first. I'll handle this." She turned mechanically and left the room. Soon, the assistant brought the results of the investigation. The 3 thugs confessed. Someone approached them, paid them to go to a designated place, and beat Mr. Nathan Miller to within an inch of his life to cripple him. We checked the bank records. The money used to hire them was transferred from Mr. Ethan Miller's account. Sophia said nothing, her throat tight. "Ms. Evans, once we find Mr. Miller, shall I arrange for him to be sent to the Eclipse Club?" The Eclipse Club, Bridgewater's most notorious high-class den of vice, catering to the most depraved desires of the so-called elite. If Ethan went in there, he wouldn't come out without losing more than just his skin. "You dare." Sophia's eyes suddenly turned dangerously cold. The assistant froze. Previously, when Ethan had merely slapped Nathan, Sophia had ordered him to be beaten 100 times with a rod. An eye for an eye, 100-fold. Wasn't that her usual way? Sophia closed her eyes. After a while, she spoke, her voice hoarse. "Find him first." After the assistant left, Sophia stood motionless for a long time. But the agitation in her heart, she couldn't suppress it at all. What would she do after finding Ethan? She couldn't think. Retaliate 100-fold? She didn't think she could do it. An eye for an eye? The thought of handing Ethan over to another woman was unbearable. Sophia turned to see Nathan approaching. He looked extremely anxious. Do you not like me anymore? You don't want me?" "Of course not." He let out a sigh of relief, then looked into her eyes. "Sophia, Mom said you were going to propose to me yesterday. Why did you change your mind? I'm really scared you'll suddenly stop liking me. You said you'd be with me for a lifetime. Marry me, okay. Sophia didn't speak. Nathan's eyes gradually reddened. Her heart softened. Nathan had saved her life. She couldn't abandon him. She was just about to nod stiffly when a call came in. The moment she answered, Sophia felt as if she'd been plunged into an abyss. Ms. Evans, Mr. Miller. He jumped into the river. He committed suicide. A roar exploded in Sophia's ears, her mind instantly blank. Nathan tugged at her sleeve, his eyes wide with worry. Sophia, what happened? She snapped back to reality and stumbled towards the exit. Nathan quickly tried to grab her, but when he saw her bloodshot eyes, the hairs on his body stood on end. Get away from me. His hand froze in midair as he watched Sophia rush out like a madwoman. Panic seized Nathan's heart. This was the first time he had ever seen Sophia so utterly undone. Who had called? What on earth had happened? Nathan. Mrs. Miller's voice came from behind him. Mommy has thought of a way. From now on, Ethan will never be able to hurt you. Nathan took a deep breath, his expression reverting to one of soft, innocent vulnerability. What way, Mom? Whatever had happened with Sophia didn't matter. The evidence was solid. A trip to the hospital for him in exchange for Ethan never being able to recover. Worth it. On the way, Sophia ran countless red lights. The closer she got to her destination, the more frantic she became. Ethan committed suicide. How was that possible? He had always been so strong. 3 years ago, after that horrific car accident, through countless agonizing days and nights, he had never once thought of giving up on life. How could he commit suicide now? It had to be a mistake. They were just trying to scare her. He was definitely hiding somewhere, waiting to laugh at her. She reached the Blackwood River. The guillotine that had been hanging over her head crashed down with a deafening thud. Sophia felt a chilling cold seep into her bones, as if she were trapped in an endless nightmare. Several fire trucks were parked along the riverbank. Search and rescue boats were busy on the water. Sophia stumbled forward, desperately scanning the crowd for that familiar figure. Have you found him yet? She cried, grabbing the arm of a passing rescuer. The rescuer shook his head, his eyes filled with pity. Why haven't you found him yet? Where did he jump from? I'll go save him. The rescuer instinctively turned his head, and Sophia immediately dashed in the direction he indicated, about to jump in herself, but her assistant and others managed to restrain her. Let go of me. Go save him. Every minute you save him sooner gives him a better chance. What are you all doing? Help me save him. She didn't know where the strength came from, but several grown men couldn't hold her down. He can't be saved. Mr. Miller is already dead. Sophia's body went rigid. The next moment, she lunged at the person who had spoken, pushing him to the ground, her hands closing around his throat. How dare you curse him? Anyone could die, but not him. Ms. Evans. Her assistant couldn't hold her back. Mr. Miller jumped into the river yesterday. Everyone is now recovering his body. Those words drained all the strength from her. Her hands fell away. The man she'd been choking scrambled to his feet and fled. Sophia stood motionless, so still and silent she might have been a statue. After a long while, she heard her own hoarse voice. I don't believe it. Ethan wouldn't die. Sophia mobilized everyone she could, sending them to search for Ethan. Then she demanded the surveillance footage from the bridge, watching it frame by agonizing frame, searching for any sign that Ethan had been rescued. Even though others had already reviewed the footage, even though everyone knew Ethan couldn't possibly be alive, Sophia clung stubbornly, insanely, to that sliver of delusion. For 2 days and 2 nights, Sophia didn't eat or drink. She ignored everyone's pleas, staying by the riverbank, waiting for the final verdict. We found something. Sophia dragged her stiff body forward, rushing towards the commotion, but then she stopped, hesitating, unable to take another step. She knew better than anyone that what they found at this point could not be hope. Though Sophia didn't move, the crowd gathered around automatically parted, creating a path. On the ground lay a soaked, bloated jacket and a cell phone. Only then did Sophia feel a spark of life return. Thank God, it wasn't Ethan. Ms. Evans, could you please identify if this jacket and phone belonged to Mr. Miller? They're his. Sophia didn't hesitate. When they lived together, she always forgot things related to Ethan. She forgot he liked blue. She forgot he loved mangoes. She forgot he was only 5 minutes older than Nathan, yet had endured 25 years of injustice. But now, every detail related to Ethan seemed seared into her mind, an agonizing, indelible brand. She could even accurately recall every single time Ethan had worn that jacket. Ms. Evans, we've searched the entire Blackwood River and found nothing else. The river connects to the ocean. It's very likely his body was washed out to sea. The lead rescuer looked at her. We can issue a death certificate for you. You can use that to handle the official procedures. No need. Sophia's face was deathly pale, yet she remained stubbornly fixated. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his body. The rescuer was silent for a moment. My condolences. Sophia managed to twitch her lips. Condolences for what? They only found his jacket and phone. How dare they say Ethan was dead? She stumbled forward, her trembling hands failing several times to pick up the jacket and phone. Someone, unable to watch any longer, helped her, placing the two items in her grasp. Sophia's vision blurred. She pressed the wet jacket to her heart, murmuring, Ethan, please don't play this kind of joke on me, okay? Stop hiding from me. If you come back, I'll do anything you ask. I know I was wrong. I'm begging you, please come back, okay? Ethan. But the person who needed to hear couldn't. No matter how much she said, it was futile. Sophia finally collapsed, fainting, but her hand still clutched Ethan's jacket and phone with a desperate grip, as if they were her last lifeline. She awoke in a hospital room. Sophia frantically searched around until she confirmed Ethan's jacket and phone were there. Only then did she feel a sliver of post-traumatic relief. Ms. Evans, the search team looked for another day and night. No leads. They pulled everyone back this morning, her assistant said, entering the room. After a long pause, Sophia finally spoke, her voice hoarse. I know. The assistant hesitated for a moment. Mister, Nathan has called me many times. He wants to see you. No. Sophia handed Ethan's phone to her assistant. Restore all the data. All right. The assistant took the phone, glancing at her. In less than a week, Sophia had lost so much weight she was almost unrecognizable. Her eyes were lifeless, imbued with a chilling, skeletal desolation. By now, anyone could see how important Ethan was to her. But if she'd known then what she knew now, why did she act as she did? That evening, the data on Ethan's phone was recovered. Sophia watched the surveillance footage from the Blackwood River Bridge for what felt like the 100th time. The moment Ethan jumped, there wasn't a hint of hesitation. She pressed pause. Her fingers trembled as she caressed the solitary figure on the screen. A violent pain ripped through every inch of her body, over and over. What was he thinking in that final moment? Sophia picked up Ethan's phone. It took a long while before she dared to open it, to look. In doing so, she also opened Pandora's box. Because she had blocked Ethan, the surveillance video from the coffee shop where he met Nathan was still in his unsent messages to her. Sophia clicked on it. Nathan's voice filled the air. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that my chance to study abroad came from taking yours. A pause, then a sneer. You didn't actually think I'd say that, did you? I heard Sophia puked on you. Is that true? God, that's rich. You looked so pathetically stupid yesterday when Sophia kissed me. It was hilarious. Sophia's entire body began to tremble, her eyes turning a feral, bloodshot red. So, Nathan, the one she had cherished, protected from any harm, was this despicable. And for someone like him, she had hurt Ethan again and again. She was the stupidest one of all. Sophia's trembling hand tapped on the most recent message. It was from the group chat with her girlfriends, the one where she had specifically warned Ethan. I'm alive today because Nathan gave me a kidney. He's my life. I'd do anything for him. I won't let anyone threaten him. The message showed as read. Ethan had seen it. Sophia's vision blurred. Her friends' messages had all been retracted, but she remembered every single word with horrifying clarity. Sophia, how is Ethan supposed to live this down? How is this any different from forcing him to kill himself? Her indifference at the time now boomeranged back, a precision strike, plunging a knife deep in her heart. It was her. She had personally driven Ethan to his death. Driven the person she loved most to his death. Sophia's head snapped up, her gaze fixed on the still pause surveillance footage. With a shaking hand, she dragged the progress bar backward, back to before Ethan had looked at his phone. Ethan, don't look. We won't look. I didn't mean that. I just. Ethan, please believe me, okay? I never, ever wanted you to. Her finger accidentally slipped, and the playback jumped forward. Ethan leaped. The screen was empty. The blood drained from Sophia's face. Panicked, frantic, she dragged the progress bar back again, only then letting out a shaky breath. As if by doing this, she could pretend Ethan was still alive and well, that he was just too angry with her, hiding somewhere, refusing to see her. Her phone rang, the sound jarringly loud. Sophia hadn't intended to answer any calls, but when she saw Mrs. Miller's name on the caller ID, her gaze froze. A moment later, she answered. Sophia, have you found Ethan yet? I want to talk to you about how to deal with him. Sophia's eyes were ice cold. All right. Half an hour later, Mrs. Miller arrived at the hospital. Seeing Sophia's ravaged state, She was visibly stunned. She was visibly stunned for a moment. Auntie, how do you plan to deal with Ethan? Sophia asked, her voice frigid. Mrs. Miller finally snapped out of her daze, too preoccupied to notice much else, and handed Sophia a file. I've thought it over carefully. Just sending Ethan out of state isn't enough. He needs to get married, start a family. Only then will he completely give up any inappropriate ideas. I've specifically chosen someone. It's not easy for Ethan to find a partner in his condition. I've explained everything to the woman. She doesn't mind, and she guarantees that after marriage, she and Ethan will stay out of state and won't come back. This is the only way to ensure he can't hurt Nathan again. A permanent solution. Sophia took the file. The photo showed a plain-looking woman, who even appeared older than her stated age. She read the description that followed. 32 years old, works odd jobs, meaning no stable employment. Congenital disability in her right leg. Highest education, middle school. Reading through it all, the only supposed positive trait, honest and obedient, was unverifiable. Sophia's hand spasmed, crushing the file into a ball, veins bulging on the back of her hand. Mrs. Miller actually thought that for such a woman, Ethan was still marrying up? Sophia let out a cold, harsh laugh. You can rest assured, he won't hurt Nathan anymore. And you will never see him again. Mrs. Miller froze, and suddenly a profound, inexplicable unease washed over her. Sophia, what do you mean by that? Sophia remained silent, but Mrs. Miller's face paled, fear mounting within her. Say something. What do you mean, I'll never see him again? Sophia closed her eyes. Ethan is dead. 4 simple words, yet uttering them felt like her heart was being pierced by 1,000 needles. She opened her eyes, a blood-red hue tinting their dark depths, thick with a dangerous aura. Mrs. Miller's mind went blank. A deafening, intensifying ringing filled her ears, making her feel lightheaded and unsteady. What nonsense are you talking? How could Ethan possibly die? She stared intently at Sophia. Was it you? What did you do to him? Sophia laughed. Everything I've done. Don't you already know? Besides, you had a part in it too. Mrs. Miller's eyes turned red, but Sophia's laughter grew wilder, more unhinged. So Mrs. Miller wasn't entirely indifferent to this son after all. It was just that Ethan was too obedient, too sensible, never fighting for anything. So his suffering, in Mrs. Miller's eyes, had become a matter of course. Ethan killed himself. On his birthday. Mrs. Miller opened her mouth, but no words came out. Suddenly, she latched onto a desperate hope, like a drowning woman grasping at straws. You're lying to me. The day after his birthday, he lured Nathan out, hired thugs to hurt Nathan. If he were dead, then... Sophia turned her laptop screen towards Mrs. Miller and pressed play. The timestamp was in the top left corner of the surveillance footage. The camera had even captured the extravagant fireworks display she had put on for Nathan that entire night. Mrs. Miller shook her head, but her gaze was riveted to the screen. No, it can't be. How could it? The last call, Ethan answered, was from you, Sophia said, enunciating each word with chilling precision. Mrs. Miller looked up, her expression dazed. Suddenly, an uncontrollable tremor ran through her body. That phone call, the one she hadn't paid much attention to, every word of their conversation now echoed in her ears. Don't come to the birthday party. If people find out Nathan has a brother like you, how can he face anyone? Ethan Miller, how could you do something so shameful, so disgraceful? You'd be better off dead. As if to confirm something, Mrs. Miller frantically pulled out her phone, checking the call log against the time on the screen. The call had ended exactly 5 seconds before Ethan jumped. And in that call, Ethan had said, fine, I'll grant your wish. Sophia Evans, it was you. Mrs. Miller's hate-filled eyes bore into her. You drove my Ethan to his death. Yes, Sophia nodded. But didn't you condone it all? Snatching Ethan's opportunity for advanced study and giving it to Nathan, Mrs. Miller had condoned it. When Ethan had the car accident, to prevent him from finding out the truth and causing a scene that might affect Nathan, Mrs. Miller had tacitly agreed with her to conceal it. And 3 years later, when Sophia abandoned him for Nathan, it was Mrs. Miller who had actively facilitated it. Now you can tell me, what exactly did you say to him? The words were seared into her brain, yet when Mrs. Miller tried to speak them, she stammered. I told him he was a disgrace, and that he should just die, and he said, fine. The metallic taste of blood spread in Sophia's mouth. She had personally pushed Ethan to the brink, and Mrs. Miller had snuffed out his only chance for survival. Now that everything was irretrievably lost, both she and Mrs. Miller finally felt the pain. Watching Mrs. Miller leave, lost and devastated, a bloodthirsty darkness swirled in Sophia's eyes. Her, Mrs. Miller. Neither of them deserved peace. Her phone vibrated. A message from Nathan. Sophia, Ethan called and yelled at me. I'm really scared. Can you come over and stay with me? Sophia's gaze, cold and unblinking, remained fixed on the screen for a long time. A moment later, she typed a single word. Okay. Half an hour later, Sophia arrived at the Miller house. Upon seeing her, Nathan immediately rushed over. Sophia. His face was pale. He'd barely uttered her name before his eyes reddened. It was my fault. I wronged Ethan first. It's not his fault. It's okay if Ethan hits me or yells at me. I accept it. I can give him anything at all. The only thing I can't give up is you. Sophia, I've called you countless times this week, sent you so many texts, and you haven't replied. I've been so worried about you. Nathan's shoulders shook with sobs. In the past, she would have probably started comforting him by now. But now she only felt disgusted. Disgusted by the Nathan in front of her, and equally disgusted by the Sophia of the past. Nathan kept his head down. When a long moment passed without any reaction from Sophia, he looked up in alarm. Sophia, call Ethan back. I also want to hear how he yelled at you. Nathan's breath hitched, a chill creeping into his hands and feet. Okay. He took out his phone and dialed an anonymous number from his call history. Sophia, it's not going through. Call again. Nathan froze, but could only steel himself and dial a second time. Then a third, a seventh, until the 10th time. Maybe Ethan isn't using this number anymore. Sophia closed her eyes, her heart constricting, bringing on waves of sharp, intense pain. She knew it was impossible, yet she still hoped the call would connect. Let Ethan yell at her, hit her, even kill her. As long as he was alive, anything was fine. A chilling fear, almost overwhelming, gripped Nathan. He couldn't help but grab Sophia's sleeve, his voice small and pitiful. Sophia, what's wrong? I'm scared. Sophia opened her eyes, her dark, cold gaze locking onto him. The day after his birthday, you said you saw Ethan. Nathan's throat tightened, but he still gritted his teeth and nodded. The next instant, Sophia's hand shot out and closed around his neck. A bloody hue surfaced in the depths of her dark eyes. Nathan was terrified. Sophia genuinely wanted to kill him. Ethan committed suicide on his birthday. How did you see him? Nathan's eyes widened in shock. Ethan was dead? He finally understood what had gone wrong. Even if all his plans were flawless, how could a dead man harm him? Sophia's grip tightened, inch by inch. Nathan struggled desperately, but he didn't know where she got the strength. He couldn't break free. Suddenly, Nathan grasped at his last lifeline, forcing out broken words. Sophia, I gave you kidney. You owe me your life. Finally, Sophia released her grip. Nathan collapsed to the floor, scrambling backward on his hands and feet to create distance. Even if Ethan Miller died, it was my mom and you who pushed him to it. You did everything. What does it have to do with me? Every word was a knife stabbing into her heart. Yes, she was the one who most deserved to die. Sophia turned mechanically and left. Only then did Nathan dare to gasp for breath, a wave of post-traumatic relief washing over him. He had saved Sophia's life. Even if Sophia wouldn't protect him anymore, she wouldn't try to harm him again. Nathan unconsciously touched his side, where the kidney was. But what if Sophia found out that even this life-saving act of kindness was something he had stolen from Ethan? Despite the sweltering summer heat, Nathan shivered violently. Nathan's heart hammered against his ribs, his face deathly pale. A single thought grew clearer and more insistent in his mind. He had to leave. Liquidate all the assets Sophia had given him over the years as quickly as possible, and then never return to Bridgewater. Sophia spent a week meticulously restoring the apartment from memory, piece by piece. But objects were cold, lifeless. No matter how similar, they held none of Ethan's warmth. Without him, nothing felt right. Sophia started coming home later and later each day, an instinctive, desperate hope for a miracle flickering within her, that one day Ethan would call, asking her to come home early. But hope, she knew, was destined to be unfulfilled. At the lounge, Sophia once again stayed until the middle of the night. Her girlfriends, hearing she was there, rushed over to try and talk some sense into her. But before they could even begin, Ethan's old phone, which Sophia now carried, rang. Sophia answered instantly. Ethan isn't available to join the group tour right now. Please reschedule. He'll go when he has time. The call ended, and another one immediately came in. Ethan needs to work from home for the time being. Just email him the documents. Sophia put the phone down. The private room fell silent. After a moment, someone tried to lighten the mood. Sophia, it's been ages since we all had a drink together. We absolutely have to tonight. A drink was placed in front of Sophia, but she pushed it away. She smiled faintly. I won't drink. Ethan hates the smell of alcohol on me. If I go back like this, he'll get angry. Her friends froze, a chilling unease prickling their skin. The commotion at the Blackwood River during the search had been huge. They were well connected and had known for a while. Ethan was dead, but Sophia's current state. She was clearly acting as if he were still alive. So, Sophia, Ethan, isn't he? Sophia's head snapped up. The bloodthirsty, crazed look in her eyes made the speaker choke on their words, terrified to continue. Suddenly, a thunderstorm broke outside. The menacing aura around Sophia instantly dissipated. She stood up abruptly. I have to go home. I can't leave Ethan alone there. I'm worried about him. After Sophia left the room, her friends exchanged horrified glances, a cold dread settling in. Beneath Sophia's current calm, a storm of madness was brewing, just waiting for someone to prick the surface. Half an hour later, Sophia pushed open the door to her apartment. Ethan, I'm home. No one answered. She continued, as if to herself. It's raining really hard outside. I was afraid you'd worry, so I came back early. It's so late, you should be asleep. I won't disturb you. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, the room beyond steeped in darkness. Sophia stared at the door for a long moment, then turned and went into the study. Previously, when she worked, Ethan would always come and sit with her. Now, Sophia sat in his old chair, opened his files, and tried to emulate his way of handling his work, as if by continuing what he did by following his past plans. As long as it didn't end, he would still be there. The next morning, a message arrived on Ethan's phone. It was a hospital checkup report. Sophia opened it. Dry, tedious examination results. She read each word carefully. Lingering effects from the car accident. None of them life-threatening, but every single one was a persistent torment. A sharp, stabbing pain pierced her heart. Ethan, I recently heard about 2 traditional Chinese medicine doctors who are experts in health and recuperation. I promise I'll nurse you back to health bit by bit, okay? She turned to the next page of the report. Sophia's pupils contracted violently. Her gaze locked onto a specific section of the report, and her entire body began to tremble. The report indicated that Ethan's right kidney was missing, and she remembered with chilling clarity. The kidney Nathan had donated to her was also his right one. She didn't know how much time had passed before Sophia, dazed, finally dialed a number. I need you to investigate the person who donated a kidney to me back then. Find out who it really was. In less than 2 hours, the investigation results were on her desk. The kidney missing from Ethan's body was, at this very moment, inside hers. Sophia's trembling hand went to her right side, her eyes bloodshot. She could barely breathe. What had she done? How could she have hurt Ethan, who had loved her more than life itself, in such a way? She didn't even dare to imagine how Ethan had endured it all. His birthday, a day that should have been a celebration, was the day she had forced him onto a path of no return. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I really can't take this anymore. Please come back, okay? I'll do anything. Give me one more chance, please. Sophia's shoulders slumped, her sobs choking her, rendering her unable to speak another word. Her mind replayed scenes of her and Ethan together. Back then, Ethan had just survived another surgery. Lying in a hospital bed, his face was pale, yet he still managed to smile for her. I'm not complaining. Fate already gave me the best thing in the world. I can't be greedy. He probably never imagined that all the suffering he would subsequently endure, suffering he never should have faced, would be inflicted by her. Sophia pressed his phone to her heart. Everyone who hurt you will pay the price. Just wait for me a little longer, okay? Nathan was selling off his assets at low prices, trying to liquidate them quickly. Even so, the amount of money in his accounts was still substantial. But the moment the money landed, his accounts were frozen. Nathan was terrified. The only person capable of doing this was Sophia. He couldn't get the money. He couldn't wait any longer. Worst case, he'd leave the country first. If he was desperate enough, he could find another Sophia. Nathan hailed a cab late at night, heading for the airport. But the car quietly deviated from its route. By the time he realized it, it was too late. This isn't the way to the airport. Where are you going? The driver didn't respond. The hairs on Nathan's body stood on end. He started screaming. I'm warning you. Stop the car. Stop right now. The doors were locked. He couldn't open them. Nathan frantically fumbled for his phone, but there was no signal. Finally, the car stopped on the outskirts of the city. Nathan's panic reached its peak. The moment he was forcibly dragged out of the car, he recognized them. The 3 men waiting there were the same thugs he had hired. These thugs could only be out and about again because of Sophia. His being forcibly brought here was also her doing. I want to see Sophia Evans. There's been a misunderstanding between us, but we can clear it up. You dare touch me? Everyone in Bridgewater knows I'm the one Sophia Evans protects with her life. You are. A heavy blow landed on his leg, and he screamed in agony. Nathan Miller, Ms. Evans has 2 messages for you. One of the thugs spoke, his voice devoid of emotion. First, do you remember now whose kidney is inside my body? Nathan's eyes widened, a bone-chilling cold seeping into his marrow. In that instant, he understood with terrifying clarity. Sophia would never let him go. Thwack! Another blow landed. Then a third. A fourth. The pain was unbearable. Nathan heard the sickening crack of his leg bone shattering. As his consciousness began to fade, he was jolted awake by a splash of cold water. Ethan had once endured 100 blows from a rod. He too was now beaten 100 times with a heavy stick. Finally, Sophia's second message reached his ears. Ms. Evans also said, "You owe Ethan for everything, and you will repay every single debt." Nathan was rushed into an operating room for emergency surgery. When Mrs. Miller arrived, the surgery had just ended. The doctor informed her of the outcome. Nathan's leg bones were completely shattered. He would need a cane for the rest of his life, and his legs would bear hideous, indelible scars. His budding dance career was unequivocally over. The opportunities he had stolen from Ethan were now repaid with interest. Mrs. Miller nearly collapsed. Before Nathan even regained consciousness, she received a call from Sophia and hurried to the Evans estate. Sophia. Mrs. Miller looked at Sophia pleadingly. "I beg you, please let Nathan go, will you? Ethan is already gone. I can't lose another son." Sophia said nothing, merely pushing a file across the table. Mrs. Miller frantically looked at it and froze. It was the file of the woman she had once arranged for Ethan to marry. Only some of the details had changed. Honest and obedient had been replaced with insecure, prone to paranoia, with violent tendencies. She had a history with a boyfriend whom she had once put in the hospital for a month with a broken bottle. Mrs. Miller instinctively shook her head. "I didn't know it would be like this. I thought." Sophia let out a derisive snort. In the past, Mrs. Miller hadn't cared about Ethan, so she hadn't even bothered to verify the information. A careless "I thought" had nearly destroyed Ethan's entire life. Mrs. Miller's face turned ashen. "I really never imagined. I truly have Nathan marry her." Mrs. Miller's eyes widened in disbelief. "How can that be? How could a woman like that possibly be good enough for?" Under Sophia's cold, unwavering gaze, she fell silent. Yes, she thought such a person wasn't good enough for Nathan. But how? Then, had she once thought Ethan was the one reaching above his station? "Didn't you ask me to let Nathan go?" Sophia's voice was chillingly calm. "This is the only way." A bone-deep coldness spread through Mrs. Miller. If Sophia wanted to, she had 1,000 ways to end Nathan's life. The only way she offered was a fate perhaps worse than death for him. But she couldn't. She truly couldn't watch Nathan die. After a long pause, Mrs. Miller picked up the file with trembling hands and stumbled back to the hospital. She told a newly awakened Nathan what was about to happen. "I refuse." Nathan stared daggers at Mrs. Miller, veins bulging on his forehead. "I'd rather die than marry someone like that. You know you don't have another choice." Nathan, of course, knew what his mother meant. If he wanted to live, he had no choice. When Sophia had favored him, she could give him anything. But once she turned against him, she could just as easily send him to hell. Mrs. Miller choked back a sob and poured Nathan a glass of water. "I hate you." Nathan enunciated each word, the hatred in his eyes startling. Mrs. Miller looked at him in disbelief, her body trembling. "How could you? From the time I was little, you were the one who told me Ethan owed me, that anything he gave me was what I deserved." Nathan's lips twisted into a crazed smile. "I did everything you said. Why did it turn out like this? You ruined me. And you killed Ethan." Tears streamed down Mrs. Miller's wrinkled face. When Ethan and Nathan were first born, she had intended to treat them equally. But Nathan was sickly and needed more care. Gradually, her focus shifted, and for the first time, she favored Nathan. She demanded Ethan give his toy car to Nathan. Ethan, his eyes red, had still obediently given it up. One instance led to another. Eventually, it became an accepted norm. The most obedient considered Ethan was driven to his death by her, and Nathan, whom she had cradled in her palm, now hated her. Divine justice. This was her retribution. Nathan watched his mother's stumbling figure, his own eyes gradually reddening. Memories of how Ethan had once treated him surfaced. If he hadn't usurped the life-saving kidney donation Ethan made, if he hadn't, out of jealousy, stolen his chance to study abroad, if he hadn't deliberately targeted him upon returning to the country. But regret was always the most useless emotion. The bones in his leg seemed to throb with a fresh wave of intense pain. Nathan finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. 1 year later, Evans Corporation. During a lunch break, and in turn unwrapped a package, carefully taking out a newly arrived music box. He pressed the switch. A ballerina twirled, and snowflakes drifted inside the crystal globe. Where can I buy one of these? The intern looked up, and, seeing Sophia, Evans scrambled to his feet. Ms. Evans. Sophia's gaze didn't leave the music box. My husband would like this. I want to buy it for him. It's merchandise from the Phoenix Dance Collective. It was a pre-sale item a month ago. The intern said, Ms. Evans, if you don't mind, you can have this one. I can buy another. Thank you. Sophia accepted it, her eyes softening with a gentle expression. After Sophia left, the intern checked his bank account and saw a deposit for 10 times the music box's original price. He wasn't the first in the company to receive such an overpayment, but he was still flabbergasted. Ms. Evans really spoils her husband. Sophia Evans didn't socialize, had no scandals. Apart from work, everything in her life revolved around her husband. Accompanying her husband to watch the sunrise by the sea, learning to cook nutritious meals to nurse him back to health, sparing no expense to acquire things he liked. She was the epitome of a perfect wife. The intern rested his chin on his hand. Ms. Evans and her husband are so in love, but why does Ms. Evans herself seem so? He couldn't quite describe it. Sophia was almost devoid of emotion, living without vitality. Only when she mentioned her husband did her rigid demeanor show a fleeting spark of life. The intern turned his head. Hey, supervisor, have you ever met Ms. Evans' husband? What does he look like? The supervisor handed him a stack of work documents. Ms. Evans is unmarried. The intern froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. Sophia returned home and immediately placed the music box on the coffee table, which was already laden with various gifts. There was also a birthday cake. Sophia lit the candles, their flames flickering and swaying. Ethan, happy birthday. You can make a wish and blow out the candles now. After a moment, she leaned forward and blew out the candles herself. She looked at the empty space opposite her, her eyes gentle. What did you wish for? To be with me forever and ever again, right? It will definitely come true. Now you can have some cake. Sophia placed the first slice of cake on the plate opposite her, then pressed Ethan's old phone to her heart. Late at night, Sophia drifted into a restless sleep. She dreamed of Ethan again. He was standing by the Blackwood River, looking at her from a distance. Sophia ran towards him frantically. Just as she was about to reach him, he jumped resolutely. The churning waters of the river swallowed him, and he was gone. Sophia woke with a jolt, gasping for air. All traces of sleepiness vanished. For an entire year, her dreams were haunted by the swirling river and the Ethan she was always just a moment too late to save. She never managed more than 3 hours of sleep a night. Sophia hadn't tried therapy, nor had she taken any sleep medication. She was afraid of dreaming of Ethan. Yet, she was even more afraid of not dreaming of him at all. Sophia picked up the music box. Ethan, the Phoenix Dance Collective, is incredibly popular lately. Let me take you to see one of their performances. I know you'll love it. No one responded. She absently picked up her phone to search for information on the Phoenix Dance Collective. The moment the list of members appeared on the screen, Sophia froze. Lead dancer, Alex Peterson, Ethan's best and only childhood friend. A year ago, Ethan had planned to leave with him. Suddenly, Sophia's entire body began to tremble. She frantically opened Ethan's old phone, scrolling through the call logs from a year ago. Sure enough, there were no incoming calls from Alex Peterson. Ethan had failed to meet him, yet Alex hadn't called even once to ask why. It didn't make sense. Unless Ethan wasn't dead. Sophia immediately searched for more information on the Phoenix Dance Collective, scrutinizing every member, both on stage and behind the scenes. Finally, her gaze landed on a name with only a brief introduction. Ethan Vance, to celebrate my rebirth, to soar ever upward. An hour later, every piece of information related to the Phoenix Dance Collective was in Sophia's hands. Ethan Vance worked behind the scenes, but Sophia still recognized him instantly from a blurry, indistinct backstage video clip. Ethan Vance was her. Ethan. Sophia's eyes turned a fierce, burning red. She devoutly traced his outline on the screen, her deadened heart slowly, painfully, beginning to beat again. With a trembling hand, she dialed his current number. Hello, who's this? That voice, so familiar it resonated deep within her soul, made Sophia's entire being tremble. Her lips moved, so many words wanted to pour out, but at that moment, not a single one could escape. Hello, can you hear me? A moment later, the call was disconnected. Sophia, however, couldn't bring herself to lower the phone for a long time, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. Tears of joy, of ecstatic relief. Sophia booked a ticket for the Phoenix Dance Collective's next performance and rushed out to catch the earliest flight. She cradled the music box like a precious treasure, murmuring, "Ethan, just wait for me a little longer. I promise I won't disappoint you again." The following evening, the dance performance began. Sophia immediately recognized several pieces choreographed by Ethan. They bore his distinct, unmistakable style. She casually glanced to the side, and her gaze instantly locked onto him. At the edge of the stage stood Ethan. He was wearing a simple tank top, which didn't hide his scars, but he seemed completely unbothered by them. His eyes shone, a confident smile playing on his lips as he watched the stage he had brought to life. Sophia's heart, after so long, throbbed with a powerful, unfamiliar beat, an uncontrollable surge of nervousness and excitement. She suddenly remembered 3 years ago, the university anniversary celebration, where Ethan had performed the grand finale solo. His powerful dance moves, striking good looks, and an exuberant, infectious smile. He had effortlessly captured everyone's attention, including hers. The awe and shock of that moment were still vividly etched in her memory. After his performance, Ethan had walked up to her, his smile radiant, and confessed his feelings once more. "Sophia Evans, I like you." But thinking of Nathan, she had suppressed her own fluttering heart and rejected him. For the next 3 years, he had only worn long sleeves. She had never again seen him with that bold, confident demeanor. But now she was seeing it again. For as long as Ethan watched the performance from the wings, Sophia watched him from the audience. The performance ended to thunderous applause. As Ethan turned to leave, Sophia, as if waking from a dream, rushed forward and threw her arms around him. "Ethan," her voice was hoarse, her hands unconsciously tightening their grip. Feeling his warmth again after a year, her eyes burned. "Thank God you're alive. Thank God I found you again." She stared at Ethan, unblinking, as if gazing upon a priceless, rediscovered treasure. "I missed you so much." Ethan's smile vanished instantly. He forcefully pushed her away. The moment he clearly saw her, he froze. Sophia was shockingly thin, half of her hair streaked with white. Her usually vibrant, captivating features were now veiled with an undeniable weariness. In the few seconds he was stunned, Sophia fumbled, flustered. "Do I not look good? I didn't have the heart for it before, but now that we're together again, I'll make sure to dress up." Ethan said nothing. She continued, as if to herself, handing him the music box. "It's a day late, but I still want to say happy birthday." Ethan didn't take it. His expression was calm, indifferent. "Aren't you disgusted anymore, Sophia Evans?" Sophia was thrown into a panic, shaking her head vehemently. "No, never. I'm sorry, Ethan, I know I was wrong. Just give me another chance, I promise I'll." Ethan's eyes were ice cold. He let out a short, sharp laugh. "But Sophia Evans, the one who feels disgusted now, is me." The blood drained from Sophia's face. "Ethan! Hey, Ethan!" Ethan turned at the sound of his name and was immediately enveloped in a bear hug by Chloe Young. "The show was amazing. Ethan, you're so talented. I absolutely loved it. I've already booked a table. Let me treat you to a celebratory dinner tonight, okay?" Before he could react, Chloe planted a quick kiss on his cheek, then snuggled against him, her affection open and exuberant, making no attempt to hide her adoration. Ethan couldn't help but smile. "All right." Sophia watched, transfixed, the blood in her veins turning to ice. Only when Chloe took Ethan's hand and started to lead him away did she snap back to reality and grab his arm. "Who is she?" Ethan didn't speak, but the answer was painfully obvious. Sophia's throat went dry. "I don't believe it. You're lying to me, right? This past year, I've thought about you every single moment. Everyone agreed you were dead, but I still pretended you were alive, even though many people thought I was crazy, because that was the only belief that kept me going. But even so, I was about to break. Ethan, I don't believe you can move on so easily. You love me so much. You were even willing to give me a kidney." Ethan pried her hand off his arm. His consistently calm, unwavering gaze was enough to pierce her heart with 1,000 arrows. She was utterly distraught. "I was too awful before, but time is long. I can make you forgive me eventually." Ethan said nothing, simply turned and walked away. After the successful performance and a celebratory party, Ethan and Chloe headed home together. At his doorstep, he saw Sophia again. He acted as if she weren't there, unlocking the door and shutting her out. Inside, Chloe was overly attentive, turning on the TV to his favorite channel, then fetching him drinks and snacks. Ethan lifted an eyebrow. Feeling a little insecure, Chloe stiffened for a moment, then pressed her forehead against his shoulder, rubbing it playfully like a kitten. "A little. I mean, you were willing to give her a kidney before." After a few seconds, Chloe looked up at him, her eyes wide and pleading. "You definitely regret giving it to her, right, Ethan?" Ethan, however, shook his head. He glanced at the closed door, memories flooding back. His mother hadn't been biased from the very beginning. It was just one concession, then another, and then it escalated. Eventually, even him getting better grades than Nathan became his fault. Being made to stand in the corner without dinner became a common occurrence. It was Sophia who had taken his younger self home, who had clumsily cooked noodles for him, time and time again, until Sophia Evans became an indelible part of his heart. The 18-year-old Ethan wouldn't regret donating a kidney to save the 23-year-old Sophia, because that was a decision made with a pure, sincere heart. Just as the Ethan of that year would never regret loving Sophia. But all love, all hate, had ended a year ago, the moment he jumped. It was Alex who had saved him, given him a new lease on life. Now, with a brighter future ahead, there was no way he would ever look back. Ethan snapped back to the present. Chloe was looking down, tears welling in her eyes, a tiny beauty mark beneath her, eye looking as if it might shatter. He chuckled. Chloe was the first person he'd recruited for the dance collective. She'd called him Ethan with such reverence, then completely unexpectedly confessed her feelings for him. Playing pitiful and wronged was her forte, and it had softened his heart enough that, 6 months ago, he'd finally agreed to give things a try with her. He took a step forward, tilted her chin up, and kissed her. He preferred actions to words. Outside the door, Sophia stood motionless. The light seeping from under the door extinguished, plunging her entire world into darkness. A flicker of crimson ignited in her eyes, her fingertips trembling. She suddenly remembered Nathan's welcome home party a year ago, when she had kissed Nathan in front of him. Did Ethan, at that moment, feel the same agonizing torment she felt now? The metallic taste of iron filled Sophia's mouth. When she found Ethan, she had thought she had a lifetime to make it up to him, until he was willing to forgive her. But for the first time, she wasn't sure. For the next month, Ethan's life underwent subtle changes. Belated birthday gifts filled his yard. One spectacular fireworks display after another lit up the entire sky. During the dance collective's busy performance schedule, afternoon tea and snacks, catering to everyone's tastes, would periodically arrive. And then there was Sophia, who, without fail, waited for him every morning when he left and every evening when he returned. Ethan, there's a cold front coming in today and tomorrow. Wear an extra layer, don't catch a cold. Ethan, as always, ignored her. Sophia, finally unable to bear it, stepped in front of him, blocking his path. Ethan's expression remained calm, but her eyes suddenly reddened, her voice filled with a desperate, pleading humility. Will you just say something to me, please? I'm begging you. Ethan, please don't ignore me. Ethan wordlessly sidestepped her. Sophia stumbled after him. Your mom. She knitted a scarf for you. See if you like it. You. Under his cold, indifferent gaze, Sophia's voice trailed off. The people she mentioned, the ones she hoped would soften his heart, had all abandoned him. More than once. Now, they held no sway with him whatsoever. Don't treat me like this. Please. I've tried so hard. Everything I do, you refuse to accept. I don't know what else I can do to make you give me a chance. Ethan, how can you be so cruel? All I'm asking for is just one chance. I won't disappoint you again. By the end, Sophia was sobbing uncontrollably, barely able to stand. Sophia Evans. She flinched, a new wave of fear washing over her. Before, she was afraid he wouldn't speak to her. Now, she was terrified that when he did, his words would be final, absolute. Her worst fear materialized. The only thing you can do for me is to never appear in front of me again. Ethan's phone rang. He answered it. Faintly, Chloe's voice could be heard on the other end, calling him home for dinner. Sophia stared blankly at Ethan. His eyes, at that moment, held the tenderness she had dreamed of, but it belonged to someone else now. Got it. Be right back. Hanging up, Ethan took out his keys to open the door. Ethan, can you be so sure that she'll do better than me? That she won't disappoint you? Ethan let out a short laugh. She couldn't possibly do worse than you. The door closed. The last ounce of Sophia's strength drained away, and she crumpled to the ground. After a long while, she sent Ethan a message with trembling hands. Okay, agreeing to his request. Doing the only thing she could still do for him. To never appear in front of him again. This year marked Ethan's 30th birthday. His career had soared to new heights. He still managed the dance collective from behind the scenes, only occasionally taking the stage when a mood struck him. Even so, he had amassed a large following. The burn scars that had once devastated him had become an insignificant footnote in his life, no longer holding any power over him. At his birthday party, someone mentioned Sophia Evans. After abandoning everything to find him for that 1 month, Sophia had been ousted from the management of Evans Corporation. Now, she lived in a daze, a recluse in their former home, lost in memories of the past. When people occasionally spoke of her, it was merely as a piece of gossip, a cautionary tale. Ethan was momentarily lost in thought, then completely dismissed it. As the clock struck midnight, his phone buzzed with a flood of well wishes, perfectly timed. Among them were two from unknown numbers. Ethan, happy birthday. Sophia, Evans. Happy birthday to my precious son. Your loving mom. Ethan calmly blocked both numbers. The tribulations he once thought insurmountable were now nothing more than distant echoes. He stood up and, amidst the chorus of congratulations, raised his glass, toasting himself at 30. As for who was by his side now, it no longer really mattered. Ethan Vance, at 30, finally loved himself most. End of excerpt.